Morning everybody. You join me on a very crisp, chilly English morning. You know, those mornings where you don't even need to be there, you can just tell it's cold. I think you can tell it's cold. So we are walking at the moment on what was the last bit of tarmac that a English military hero ever set foot on. Guy Gibson was Chief Wing Commander, and he is very, very famous for the dambusters. He is like Mr. Dambuster. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the dambusters because there are lots of locations I can do for the dambusters on a potentially another video, and I can't get to any at the moment in lockdown 3.0. I hope we're all treating it with respect. So I'm going to do his last ever flight. This is the remains of RAF Woodhall Spa. Just to our right is RAF Coningsby, and there are hundreds. There were hundreds is a strong term. I think at one point, oh, we see the plane. I think at one point there was over 60 RAF bases in Lincolnshire in World War II. So many. Lincolnshire's kind of nickname is Bomber County. Anyway, I'm losing train of thought. Guy Gibson, after the dambusters, was basically the pin-up for the RAF, and he was used by the RAF as almost like a propaganda machine, the face of the dambusters, this very successful raid. And so this was kind of his role after the dambusters. In the May of 1943 he was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest award that a military figure can be given. Bearing in mind this guy was 25 at that time. 25 and he was getting the Victoria Cross. Anyway, he was obviously he became good friends with Churchill, and he was flown to North America in the August of 1943 to begin what was, I don't know if the term was after dinner speaking in 1943, but as you and I would know it now, after dinner speaking. And on this trip to North America, he flew to Canada, he met the Canadian Prime Minister, he met President Roosevelt, and he also met some of the families of pilots that were killed during the dambuster raid. And during this after dinner speaking period is where he was asked by an American pilot who they would do 25 missions, and then that would be all they're allowed to do. And the famous story from these after-dinner speeches is when an American pilot asked Guy Gibson, how many missions have you been on? And when he replied 175, everybody was just in awe of this guy. And bearing in mind he's 25 years old. Wow. But he came back from the America trip. In my head I've got December the 1st, 1943. I could be wrong. And he came straight from his home in London to RAF Scampton. Now, RAF Scampton is another Lincolnshire RAF base. It's about 2 miles from Lincoln City Centre, and because that's where the 617 squadron were the dambusters squadron, probably the most famous of all the squadrons, to the point where Lincolnshire, like Lincoln City, the fans, the singing section and the people that go away, taking myself out, they're called the 617 Squadron. And yeah, it's like 617 Squadron is probably the most famous squadron. That's the Dambusters one. They had moved to RAF Coningsby, which is just down there, 3 miles away from here, 3, 4 maybe, and that's where he was based. When he came back, he was ordered, you're not allowed to fly, you're too valuable an asset, you need to write a book. Obviously it's horrified somebody like Guy Gibson, but he took to it and he wrote a famous book, and he was getting very panicked that the war would end and he would still be writing a book or something. He wanted to be at the forefront of it. So we're on the tarmac of RAF Woodhall Spa. We are walking to the memorial. It's quite a long way along this tarmac. So I will join back with you when we get to the memorial. So we've pretty much made it to the memorial now. Over there, in that lining of trees, is it's like a wood that people can just walk through now. It's got some of the old buildings from this being RAF Woodhall Spa. This is the memorial. And I've not been in there since, well, a long time. Should I show you in there? I wasn't going to. Okay, I'll show you in there. So, we're in the woods that you could see before. This is not a lot left of the old World War II RAF base that was here. But I was working at RAF Coningsby and working, nothing left, working here. If it was too dark to see, honestly, there was nothing in there. That he was exposed to a lot of intel, and he was exposed to the intel of the D-Day landings, and he was getting even more concerned that the war was going to end and he wouldn't be back in operation. Sorry, I've not been here for 14 years, 15 years. There was a bit more. And when he came back, he had been like the face of the dambuster raid, and he had done all these speeches, he had met presidents, he had met prime ministers, and according to other people within the RAF, he became a bit arrogant and a bit of the "ooh, I am" kind of guy. Now, I think as a country, England, we're the worst with people who think they're all that. I don't think as a country we like people like that. You're allowed to be told you're great, but don't act like it. I mean, did he deserve that big head? I mean, he was incredibly successful at what he did. So you could say that he had more than deserved it. There's not a lot left, guys. Let me just keep you on the line. Yeah, not left. But I'll take you back to the runway, and if I see anything else interesting, I'll do the goodbye here. So back on the runway, he got driven over here from Coningsby, handful of miles that way, 18:30, which is 6:30. If you don't understand that, I'm looking at you Americans. And the mission had changed throughout the day. The target was Mönchengladbach now, and the crew were already disgruntled that it was Guy Gibson in charge of the marking, because he didn't have much experience doing it, and he certainly didn't have much experience of flying the Mosquito. He had less than 10 hours, and the navigator that he wanted was sick, so he literally just grabbed, as the story goes, he literally just grabbed Jim Rorick and said, you're coming with me. The guy was a navigator and everything, it's not like he was chucking me on the plane. And there was confusion at the site of the target. They were bombing, it was colour coded, red targets, yellow targets, green targets in Mönchengladbach. And the crew were bombing the green targets. There was confusion, the red target wasn't marked out, so they started bombing the green. Then Guy Gibson gave the order, yes, bomb the green. They say Guy Gibson left around 2200, which again is 10 o'clock. They said he was loitering around trying to see how the mission was going before he took off. And then he was flying over in the Netherlands, Straatenburg. I think my Dutch is better than my German. I'll put the name of the city, that was appalling. He was flying over there, they reported of a very low plane, and the cockpit was illuminated, and this is very unusual. And that was it. It crashed. To this day, the year 2021, we're still not sure why it crashed. I think it was the Germans found the plane. They could identify Jim Rorick by the identity tags, and by Guy Gibson, I think it was by the socks. He had his socks marked out GG, I believe. So weirdly beautiful to be somewhere that at one point, not so long ago in history, would have been just a thrive of activity, fighting in a war, people hurrying around, rushing around, hundreds, if not thousands of planes taken off from here, and you stand here today and it's one of the quietest places you can be. There's just nothing. I think that's the beauty of abandoned things. I think it's that somewhere where once there was so much life, there is nothing, and it's left to your imagination just to picture everything. we all know what airport runways and things are like, and this is probably a hell of a lot more chaotic. Anyway, they thought it was only one person in the plane at first when it was found by the Germans. It's basically, grim as it sounds, they found a third hand. So oh, there's 2 people in here. And I'll do the ending over in the woods. So see me again in the woods. So when he didn't come back, there was no cause for alarm. It was very foggy at Coningsby, so the people at Coningsby just assumed, he took off from Woodhall Spa, he would have landed in Woodhall Spa, and equally the people at Woodhall Spa thought, he's probably just gone to Coningsby. It wasn't reported to the British public that he had gone missing until November. Winston Churchill was told on the 26th of September that he was missing, and so that's a week after the 19th that happened. Now, he was given a funeral in Holland. His casket was draped with the flag of the Netherlands, and he's buried in a cemetery there, and you can visit it. Who knows, I might visit it one day. And where the plane crashed, I believe, is named after Guy Gibson now, the street where it happened. But yeah, it was the mystery of his death. Well, the light being in the cockpit, they said, I can't show you and talk at the same time. That made people believe that it would have been a fuel tank issue. Because he was so inexperienced at flying a Mosquito, and you need to disengage the fuel and re-engage things, and they think he might have just messed that up and pretty much just ran out of fuel and crashed. Interestingly, Peter Jackson, the famous, I'll get back to that in a sec. If you are interested in abandoned things, the photography wise, it's not a bad place to come. Just because there's not a lot to anything anymore. So someone like me, I like the stories behind things, and I like to be able to tell you what things are, and I can't really do that here. But if you're into like the imagery of it, it's quite a good place to come, in the woods and everything. Peter Jackson was the guy that did Lord of the Rings. He was redoing the Dambusters movie, and evidence was found, audio evidence of a guy saying that he thought he might have shot him down with friendly fire, like a British soldier. And there was strong evidence to back this. Lots of audio and different things. Now this movie was never come out. The Dambusters remake Peter Jackson was doing. Bear with me. There's a load of buildings over there as well. I'm not going to get to everything, unfortunately. I've been in these woods for about an hour now. It never came out, and it would be very interesting to see what this evidence was. But the plane, the wreckage was excavated, and there was no sign of bullet holes, no sign of enemy fire or friendly fire. So it would be interesting if that ever came out, what that evidence is. The sergeant's name was Cutler, I think. Cutler. Look it up, it's quite interesting. Peter Jackson has got more important things to do. He's doing the Beatles Get Back movie, which looks phenomenal. I can't wait. But what I'll do is I'll read, and I'll put it up on the screen so you don't have to look at me anymore. The letter that Winston Churchill sent to his wife, and this is kind of the respect Churchill had for him. I have been awaiting an opportunity to write to you about the loss of your husband. I can assure you that I write in no formal sense. I had a great admiration for him, the glorious dambuster. I had hoped that he would come into Parliament and make his way there after the stress of the war was over. But he never spared himself, nor would allow others to spare his. We have lost in this officer one of the most splendid of all the fighting men. His name will not be forgotten, and it will forever be enshrined in the most wonderful records for our country. May I express to you my profound sympathy in the loss you have incurred, and my earnest hope that you will find in yourself those resilient and heroic qualities of which your husband was the proud possessor. That letter is dated the 19th of December 1944, and yeah, he's revered and remembered in the highest possible regards in this country. He's a hero, the original dambuster. Not the original, he kind of got the crew together, so the original. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. I forget to ask throughout the video. So for the last time on the runway, he would have been in that area just ahead of us, and this would have been the long straight bit and the path, and he took off into that sky for his very last mission.